This one's wife. Rent a prince? Yes, they're sinking. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. Those of you who have been involved with a narcissist know that there is a price to be paid for that ensnarement. Whether it was a romantic relationship or it's a familial one, whether it's your neighbour, your boss, or a friend, you will be able to point to a particular cost that has arisen as a consequence of your involvement with that individual. For some, it can be on the receiving end of physical violence, causing them physical injury, being the recipient of sexual violence, psychological harm, the shredding of your self-confidence, the destruction of your finances, the breaking up of a family, the loss of children, the destruction of other relationships within the family, the loss of friendships, the loss of a job, the staining of your reputation. The list can be long. Not every narcissist has cataclysmic consequences for the victim, but there's some cost in there somewhere. Invariably, you are able to bounce back from it given time and the ability to understand what you have dealt with. For others, the damage can be much more long-lasting. And we see once again with Harry the damage that has been caused to him as a consequence of not only his ensnarement, but of course of his own natural shortcomings, which, when brought together with his ensnarement with his narcissist wife, creates a rather heady brew, which is resulting in so many problems for him. And we embrace another problem for him, which encapsulates where he has fallen to and what he has become, in this article reported by Laura Collins in the Daily Mail. Listen to what's explained here, which demonstrates rather neatly the consequences of both being an idiot prince and being ensnared by someone who took advantage of your idiocy. The article explains that by the time the Duke of Sussex took to the stage in one of the Hilton Toronto's many conference rooms, the arrival of a real-life prince had been well and truly teased. Certainly the prospect of Prince Harry addressing a roomful of real estate agents was intriguing, and the Daily Mail was there to witness his moment as the keynote speaker at the Ontario Real Estate Association's annual Powerhouse Conference on Monday afternoon. Pausing there. Did you ever think that you would hear such a sentence, that Prince Harry would be addressing a roomful of real estate agents at the Ontario Real Estate Association's annual Powerhouse Conference? No, I dare say that wasn't on your bingo card, ever. And yet, that's where he's turning up. Now, forgive me, but I don't seem to recall that Prince Harry is some kind of property guru. Yes, he's lived in properties, but that's about it. I'd be surprised if he's ever actually bought a property other than the Monty Shit Show mansion. I certainly don't know of him being somebody that's accumulated a vast empire of properties, somebody perhaps who buys them and then refurbishes them and then sells them on. No. Furthermore, what would he know about Ontario's real estate situation? I think we could probably sum it up by saying that it is the square root of fuck all. So why on earth is Prince Harry addressing a roomful of real estate agents in relation to the Ontario Real Estate Association's annual Powerhouse Conference? Well, it's not a charitable organisation, is it? So it's not the case of him saying that he's turning up and doing good. I think it really just comes down to one thing, doesn't it? Money. That he is a renter-prince now. He's not turning up by invitation as a consequence of bringing some actual good to an event, but rather he's made himself for hire. He has no association with this organisation. It's not a charity of which he's a patron, where he might have actually had some involvement, have some rudimentary understanding of what it does. No, none of that whatsoever. It's a completely incongruous bringing together of that organisation and a prince. He's just there to say, hey, look, we've got a prince who has attended our event. I'm pretty sure that many of the real estate agents would be thinking, what's he doing here? Continuing with the article, the quintessential dream of home ownership, attendees were told, is well beyond the grasp of most Ontarians. 68% worry about affording the basics. 70% are delaying major decisions due to financial uncertainty. Well, is this something that Harry can bring some insight to? Does he worry about affording the basics? Not yet, but perhaps he will, given that this telegraphs to us that they are indeed sinking. That if he has to turn up at an event like this, which is clearly for the purposes of money, that it either demonstrates that he and this one's wife don't actually need to do it, but do it because they are greedy, or the financial pressures are mounting, and this is the type of thing that he has to turn to try and earn some dosh. After all, he's not voluntarily going to go to Ontario to chat on a frigid day in Canada to a load of real estate people. He's only going to do it if he's being paid. And the fact that he has to do this in an organisation that he has no connection to whatsoever, travelling to a different part of the world, just tells us that there's a desperation. And it's a desperation for money. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who once told Harry and his wife, this one's wife, that they were welcome to live in Canada, but Canadians wouldn't pay for their security, spoke of affordable housing and slammed Donald Trump, whose tariffs he blamed for the rise of costing living. As the event's first speaker, Ford anticipated a day of conversation with change makers, politicians, analysts, professionals, academics, and Prince Harry. The Honourable Kathleen Wynne, 25th Premier of Ontario, spoke about homelessness, the opioid crisis, deep poverty, and the desire of middle-class families to simply find a place to live. And just after 3:30 p.m, the 400 or so attendees looked breathlessly on as the moment they'd been waiting for arrived. Harry took his seat for a fireside chat and was asked what advice he would give to a profession facing major challenges. What wisdom might follow? Well, is he going to illuminate the audience with some insightful observations? Well, his response was, I'm not here to give advice, especially not in housing. Well, at least he's honest. Nor, despite the building excitement that had preceded his arrival, was he there to be videoed or photographed, as all the other speakers had been. Filming Kathy Poland's introductory words before the prince had even emerged onto the stage was enough for the journalist to be escorted from the room and forced to delete the offending footage. Later, Harry revealed that his aversion to photography extends to his pets. One of his favourite things he shared is walking his black Labrador, Pula. Well, fascinating. I'm sure that everybody's delighted to hear that. But when Americans ask if they can take a picture of her, his response is, no, you can't. So what else did wise old Harry have to tell us? Well, apparently, he said, being seen and heard is the most important thing for people. Wow, thanks for that nugget of wisdom. Clearly from one of the fortune cookies made by this one's wife using her fridge magnet platitudes. And therefore, for 299 Canadian dollars for members of the association, or 499 Canadian dollars for non-members, though why on earth a non-member would want to turn up to this, you were treated to roughly 20 minutes of Prince Harry's musings. Replying to that question regarding advice for a profession in crisis, the Prince continued, I come from a unique standpoint, a unique upbringing, a life of service, and I'll always be part of what I was born into. I made the conscious decision to put my wife and family first, while also very much wanting to continue that service. When I was in my 20s, he said, I wanted to put my head in the sand, my fingers in my ears, and avoid public life entirely. Look what it did to my mother. Ugh, the ghost of Diana brought out again. Then I realised I had to pull my shit together. You have a platform. At first, service was experienced because I had to do it. And the change was, I want to continue to do it because I enjoy it. Asked what made a good leader, the prince left the crowd guessing. We know what it's not, right? We have a very good demonstration of exactly what it isn't. And the best advice he'd ever had, Harry shared, was advice he'd given himself. Put your own mask on before helping others. I ran myself into the ground. I burned out just wanting to be there for everybody. But you're no use unless you're physically, mentally fit. Coaching and therapy, he noted, were particularly helpful. 99% of us walk around with some form of unresolved grief, trauma, or loss. I really don't think that it's that high. And the fact is that it's a load of bollocks. And I won't go into it now because it's not the video to do so. But there's a lot of nonsense spoken about unresolved childhood trauma. 57% of Ontarians are worried about losing their home or rental unit, with the vast majority, Polster and government advisor David Coletto revealed, more worried about physiological needs such as food, water and shelter than self-actualization. What worries the prince? His response was AI and digital safety. Tech titans, he said, make money at the expense of children, exploiting young people, farming their minds. There is real-world harm knowingly created, and they don't want to fix it, he said, because they are making money. Well, what's that got to do with realtors? Bugger all. Then he was asked a question about Toronto. After all, the city has a special place in his story. It's where his romance with this one's wife apparently first bloomed. Toronto gave me my wife, Harry acknowledged with a smile. What would his ideal Toronto community look like if he were able to design it? Well, it wouldn't be in the city. I'm not a huge fan of cities, he told the room full of professionals dedicated to developing and selling urban real estate. I do better in the outdoors. Well, at least he's being truthful, but once again misses the mark. He's talking to people that are involved in developing and selling urban real estate and then says, well, I wouldn't develop a city. Honest, but misguided. The Daily Mail asked about the fee. The association didn't respond to the request. It's clearly the only reason he was there, and I'm sure they're not thinking that it was money well spent. The fact is that what's happened here is not only has the prince turned up with very little to say because he's an empty-headed doofus, he just spouts the same things that he said before, provides no value whatsoever, and the fact that he turns up to, and let's be honest, it's not the most exciting of gatherings, the fact that he turns up is demonstrative of the fact that he's only there because of the money. And as I pointed out earlier, this is either because the Sussexes are greedy, or probably more likely, desperation is setting in, and this is the only type of thing that the prince is able to get. A gig in Canada, spouting nonsense, irrelevant nonsense, to a crowd of real estate agents. Yeah, that's where he's fallen to. Not a working member of the royal family, not being involved in charities in the way that he was, not being invited to events where people are genuinely pleased to see him, but turning up for a fee on a cold day to spout nonsense. He's a renter prince, all right. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.